All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian Farmer's Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday, August 14th. So, reversal of a reversal of a reverse. No, I'm just kidding. We've got S&P futures down 3.14% today. Selling off a little bit more because I only see SPYs down about 3% today. Qs were down 3%. IWM down 2.8%. Sector wise, energy, man, energy continues to get blasted. That was amongst the worst performing areas of the day. OIH down another 6% on the day. XOP down 5%. MJ, the marijuana ETF, Mary Jane ETF, was down 6% for the day. XRT, which staged a little bit of a comeback yesterday, smoked today. Retail, Macy's, I guess, moving that down, but I don't know. That kind of seems obvious. Was anybody really thinking Macy's was going to do well today? Hey, but I thought what Jim Cramer said yesterday. I was watching part of his show. I don't watch his show every night, but somebody, I think a caller asked him about Macy's, and he's like, "Well, we'll find out in about." I think he said 12 to 18 hours or something like that. But I think what he said was pretty good. He said, the dividend yield is kind of an indicator. When it's that high, it's usually a bad thing. I think the dividend yield coming into today was the 7 or 8%. But as much as everybody likes to give that guy a hard time, the guy make people ask him about 30 tickers a day, and of course you're going to get ones wrong. It's impossible not to. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I mean, so I guess that moved that group down. Solar stocks got hit pretty hard. So a lot of momentum areas, metals and mining, and a lot of these. Let's just look at the XRT. I'm just kind of interested to look at some of these charts after a really nasty day like today. Yeah, XRT taking out. Wow, look at that candle yesterday. It kind of was a little bit. I thought wasn't such a great signal. I think I may have went over this chart yesterday in the video. Sometimes I forget. I look at a lot of charts, and sometimes I do them after hours, and I can't remember if I do them all during the video. But it just looked a little bit weird that it went really high yesterday and didn't close anywhere near it. So it's back testing this. Trouble in retail. OIH just continues to slide here, and very very nasty looking for the energy group. So the more that this group goes down, it's I think going to be trouble for people who are owning some energy bonds. But again, that's also a completely another story. A lot of other areas got hit pretty hard today. There wasn't a lot of places that you can hide. Even utilities. I thought utilities might have a shot today. Utilities not really following the bond move. So I'm not going to talk about the inverted yield curve. I'll just kind of talk about some of the indicators that we normally use, maybe a couple new ones. I saw this one being quoted on social media. I don't normally use this. It's kind of a gauge of buying or selling pressure. This thing hit a really high level, 3.81. What I use is market breadth down here. We have kind of our in-house indicator. And you could see I was just watching this throughout the day. The market breadth indicator really negative for NYSE stocks, right? We have this on ARCA, which is mainly ETFs, Nasdaq stocks, obviously, more tech in there, but the NYSE stocks really looks like they got hit over the head today, and you can kind of see this. It got worse throughout the day, and this trend really. Now I don't know what this means here at the end of the day, but I saw the same. So it's kind of doing the same type of uh, indicator, just measuring a little bit different things. But I saw this get on mine get worse and worse as we went through to the end of the day. But interesting. That seems like something's not right with that. Going from in the last 5 minutes doing that. But I don't know this indicator that well, but I don't know. That seems that the majority of the move happened in the last 10 minutes. So while I did see a deterioration, I like my model better. uh, our in-house model better to kind of show that, but that looks really extreme. What else? Let's talk about a few other things before we talk about the technicals. Things like the VIX today, which was up 26% today. Notice we have still not taken out that high from last week. So I'm not sure what this is telling us yet. I'm not sure if this is telling us that we're not extreme in terms of volatility because we did get over a 24. So and we closed on the high. So usually this means that there's more, I think a little bit more continuation to the downside. I say this because I went long a couple things today. So I'm long some next week's Qs, short-term trade. But that's the beauty of options. You can only lose the premium, and they're nice to take shots at some things. If not, I do think that we're getting some things are getting extreme, maybe not some other things. So, which usually means that we could have a little bit more downside. The put call ratio, it's good to kind of see extremes. Not an extreme today. Although, what's funny to me is I saw more put buying. I think the naked eye, like when we look at flow, when we look at things that are being swept or aggressively bought, I saw a lot more aggressive put buying and very little call buying. So I'm really surprised that this is not higher, but the numbers are the numbers. But I mean, I kept looking today for some dip call buying, and I did not see that all day long today. I saw one SPY order, and I tweeted it out, and I see other people retweeted it, which is nice. But really, like in the whole context of things, I mean, there was a lot of put buying today. Again, I don't know why it's not showing up. But these are the transactions that I look at, and you can kind of see there's more VIX call buying too. A whole hell of a lot of silver again, which this has been I talked about this in the trading room today. It's kind of a frustrating trade because you see all this call activity in SLV and it's barely moving. Now it was up like 2%, but I don't know. Maybe some of it they're taking some of it off, but I still like a lot, or maybe rolling some of the position. But for the amount of SLV silver call buying, it's like I bought some SLV a few days ago at 50 cents, and I hit a target at 60 cents. So that's a little bit frustrating. And you can see it's not for as much call buying. Right? I know people love call buying and put buying, but look at all the call buying. This has been going on for days now in SLV. So I don't know. Maybe we're going to get a bigger pop than this, but I mean, just tattooed in terms of the amount of calls in SLV. Let's see what's the historical. Let's see if I can get you. What do I want to see? Put call sentiment. Is it number 6? Let's see. Put call ratio. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if it's much more extreme than it normally is. But in any event, that and you could see some of the trades just that I'm putting in. Somebody asked me on Twitter. They're like, because I posted that I went long, that I'm long next week's Qs, and they're like, what strike? What? I'm like, what does it? It doesn't really matter, guys. It's a long position in the Qs, meaning I'm long the Qs. I never understand why people are so fixated. What's a strike? What's the maturity? Um, it's and if I think if you're asking that question, you don't really understand uh, options that much. What if I would have said at the money versus out of the money? Would that have made a huge difference? So again, I'm just kind of going through some names, but you can see here's one of the VIX orders. Again, this is versus open interest. So again, a lot of these orders kind of have to be checked, but again, it just seemed like there was a hell of a lot more puts, just rapid fire over and over and over. So anyway, that's the put call ratio. It doesn't seem like it's that extreme. So I would love to say that everything is like really skewed towards being oversold. And I mentioned I'll go over the technicals. I will do that in just a second. There was a couple other ones that I wanted to go over. I talked about the high yield spread. Unfortunately, that went higher. This is what the put call ratio looks like on Bloomberg too. It definitely doesn't look that extreme. So the high yield credit spread, right? Yesterday I thought that made some nice progress. Now definitely that has moved in the other direction today, and I think that it's the highest level. So unfortunately, this has taken out the highs. I do not like this. And then the last one that I wanted to look at, and I wanted to make sure that you see this in perspective. But if you look at TLT over SPY, so first let's look at it in 1 year. And you can see we are now more extreme. I think that's taking out the December high. And you can see this with an RSI, which will tell you if something is overbought. So it's not as overbought as which is again a little bit shocking to me, right? It got very overbought back on 12/24, which was the low, right? That was the day before December, and it made a second peak here. But we know what happened, right? Equities outperformed at that point. Notice it made another peak here, and that was also got overbought. Relative strength index was 78, and what troubles me here is that we're not that overbought. We're actually less overbought than we were here. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit of divergence there, not making a new high. I guess you could say that. But yeah, I'm wondering. I would have liked to see this like the relative strength index at like an 80 or an 85. That's the big story is bonds. They are not backing off. Let me go through that, and then we'll go through the S&P technicals. But the long bond it's a 77 RSI. So it is continuing to, it's now been overbought like this and has been staying overbought, which is highly unusual for something like this to happen. But it is what it is. And I mean, I bought some TLT puts today too because I just think this is getting out of control. And notice this also, I'm using my indicator, right? I'm seeing that this was taken out. It did not get taken out yesterday, and I think I covered that in there. And I don't see any more of these Virgin point of controls. This is also, if you look at TLT and the long bond, by the way, again, they're different durations. One is the long bond, and TLT has less duration, so it's not quite as long as this. But if you look at the weekly chart on this with the RSI is an 83, so that is that's extreme. And then as you can see as well, the daily is an 84. So I mean, this I do think that this is ripe to come in. But as we know the old saying, markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And I think this is playing out exactly to that point, is that this is trending and is getting super overbought. So I do have a reversion trade on. I will let you know if it works. Sometimes, I don't like to get in front of moving trains, but it seems like this is super overbought, and we'll see what happens. What could kind of change this if the Fed comes out and says something? Don't forget we had China retail sales, industrial production. We get that. We get our hours tomorrow, so it's also what I'm thinking is that possibly something in here could kind of turn us around a little bit. We get Empire Manufacturing, Philly Fed Business Outlook, retail sales, industrial production. So we get a handful of data for tomorrow. So we'll go to the S&P next, and then I will kind of give you my summary thought. But yeah, I mean, pretty ugly. Normally, when we finish on the lows, sometimes there is some continuation. Remember what we did here on this day? We went lower, we explored lower, and then we came back, right? So that could be something that might happen for tomorrow. I actually, even though I'm long some things, I actually hope we open up in the red tomorrow. I have much more cash I could deploy if that happens, and I will probably do that, probably going into that. So let's look at a couple things here on the 5-minute bar. Some of the things that we were watching in the trading room today. Virgin point of controls taken out. And sometimes this happens when there's a decent amount of push. You just go right back through them. Also on the 1 hour, we did not stop at the bottom of value. We made this all the way through. By the way, what a tell that was yesterday that we could not get through the value area. So again, value areas, the value area indicator that I use, the market webs, giving us a really good signal to not add into yesterday's market. Yeah, and we spent some time with that yesterday, and I was like on the board, on the was it borderline on I was thinking about adding to some things yesterday, and I was like, well, let's see if we can push higher and get above the range. And thank goodness I did not do that, because in hindsight I wish I would have taken off more. I talked about how I took off a decent portion of Google, but I did not take the whole thing off yesterday. So keep in mind this market right now, the way it is moving. So I will give you a couple things. So I would like to see us get back above 28.56. If not, we've got further downside here that we're now breaking through. And on the daily, going back to the daily chart, we probably have this support right in here. I do not have Venom lines turned on. I can actually go through those a little bit later to see if there's anything else down here. So, in summary, usually when we close on the lows, that's not a good sign for tomorrow. Some indicators that I'm seeing, they are kind of oversold or extreme levels. Others are not. So, which does not mean for me that we've got a clear like overbought reading on everything and to kind of take the other side of it, even though I did that with some trades. So again, I always like to tell you what I did, but let's just look at the Qs too. The Qs, I mean, and again, you could see not oversold here, so that's why I'm afraid to say I think we could go a little bit lower here. And this, we did break into the value area. 179.26 would be support there. All right, guys. So that is it for today's market recap video. Again, pretty nasty to the downside, down 3%. I am looking for a possible short-term bounce in terms of what I traded, even though we're not completely at extreme oversold levels. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.